Welcome to the StoryTellers Live YouTube channel. Here, we share real stories of the hope found in Jesus. The story you're about to hear was recorded live at a gathering hosted by one of our StoryTellers Live communities across the Southeast. Our prayer is that as you listen, your heart is encouraged and your faith is strengthened. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss a story. Enjoy!
So a little bit about a background about me. I was raised in Clay, Alabama. Go Cougars. And I'm just kidding. Go Huskies too. And, I don't remember a time in my life where I didn't have Jesus in church. I was raised in a Christian home and I got baptized at a young age. I accepted Christ at a young age. Jesus has always been a firm foundation in my life. Prayer has always been a firm foundation in my life. So that's a little bit about me. I grew up in the church. We had an awesome youth group. We were a tight-knit youth group. I still see them around Trussell to this day. And I love seeing my friends and their kids, and we're doing life together, and it's a precious, precious time. I feel so fortunate to have had that time in my life. So I'm a 15-year-old girl is where my story begins. I'm 15 years old, and I would describe myself as loud and fun and outgoing and I wanted to be the life of the party all the time. I had a ton of friends. He probably was a teacher's worst nightmare. No, I know I was because I've read my report cards. And 90% of them said excessive talking on them. I reckon, and my worst nightmare did come true last year when my daughter actually had my 8th grade math teacher. And he said, the first thing he said was, "You see all these gray hairs on my head? They're from your mama." And I thought, "Oh, don't tell her. But that was kind of who I was. I loved life. I was always down for a good time. I was a rule breaker. Not bad, but if you wanted to go and roll somebody, of course, absolutely, I'm down with that. If you wanted to go be loud in movie theater, yeah, I'm going to do that with you." And so never took anything seriously, just was a fun girl. I was in detention a lot for gum chewing and my loud laugh. I just would say my life was loud and super fun. So you can imagine my surprise when some symptoms started in my body. I started having some really bad stomach pain and some really bad stomach cramping. And I knew that wasn't normal, but I'm 15, I'm fine. I've got other things to do. I noticed that I started losing a lot of hair, and my clothes fit looser. I knew I was losing a little weight, and I was tired a lot. But the most prevalent symptom in my life that I noticed was every time I went to the restroom, there'd be blood in my stool. And I thought, that is just not normal. But I'm 15. I'm a girl. I don't have time to stop. I wasn't going to let that slow me down. I thought, you know what? This will go away. It's just not that big of a deal. It'll go away and everything will be fine. You don't have to tell anybody. So it went on for a little over a month. And one day I came from school, and I was using the bathroom, and my mom came in and she said, "Kristen, what is going on? Like, you're going to the bathroom all the time. You're losing weight. Like, what's the problem?" And I showed her the problem, and I said, "Mom, I don't know what to do. Like, I'm bleeding, and it's frequently, and I'm going to the bathroom all the time." And she said, "Get in the car. We're going to the emergency room." And almost felt like a little relief, because I thought, praise the Lord, somebody finally knows. Like, it's not just me carrying this around. Thank you, Lord, that somebody finally knows and I can finally get some help. So we went to the emergency room. They ran some labs. They immediately admitted me into the hospital. And again, just a relief, thinking, okay, the doctors are going to figure this out. I'm going to maybe get some medicine. I'll go home. This is great. My life can, it'll be fine. It won't be a secret anymore. This will be good. So we had gotten in a room. My parents were on one side. I'm in the hospital bed, and in walks the doctor and about 4 people behind him. And he had this clipboard. And I thought, that looks serious, And he walked over to my parents and he said, "I'm going to need you to sign this right now." And my parents were like, What are we signing? What's going on right now?" And he said, "Your daughter is not going to live through the night without a blood transfusion." And my y'all lived in the 90s. Some of y'all did. And blood transfusions, it was really taboo. Like, people were scared of them at this point, in life. And my parents said, "No, we'll donate. We're going to donate to her." And the doctor said, "There's no time. Like, she's not going to make it through the night without this blood." I remember my parents like wrestling with a decision. Like I can vividly see them wrestling with this decision. They're both looking at each other crying. And I have children now, so I can't even imagine. I really can feel it now. And my dad said, I don't know what to do. And the doctor said, if this were my daughter right here, I would sign the papers. And so he handed my dad the clipboard. My dad signed the papers, and it wasn't 15 minutes and the blood was in my room, and I was getting hooked up and I was receiving blood for the first time in my life. And that would go on the whole night. It would be, I don't know the bag count that I got, but it went on all night. And I woke up the next morning, the doctor came in and he said, look at you, your collar's back. You're a real person now. And I was like, oh, am I good? Am I fixed? This is great. I'm healed. This is awesome. But little did I know, this would now begin. This kind of now begins my story. So I would stay in the hospital for about a week and a half. They ran a ton of tests and lots of scary words were thrown around. But at the end of the week and a half, the doctor came in and said, we're going to diagnose you and you're going to have a disease and you'll have it for the rest of your life. And I said, what is it? And they said, we're going to diagnose you with ulcerative colitis. So at 15 years old, I was diagnosed. And again, another relief. I thought, okay, well, that's great. Let's do the pills. Let's do what we can do and get me well. And so I can go back and live my life. But I remember him talking to me and, telling me that this was a lifelong autoimmune disease. Like, this is now your new life. This is a disease. There's no quick fix. This is what you had now. And your life is going to be probably filled with doctors. And I thought, I'm 15. So I was like, okay, I'll be okay. It'll be fine. So they had to send me home with a port. So I got sent home with a port, and my mom would I had an IV, and she would push high doses of prednisone in my arm every morning. And so they sent me home, and I got worse and worse, and I didn't get better. And that summer, I had this, I'm going to brag about myself for just a little bit, but I had blonde, curly hair, and I lost all of it that summer. I lost all my hair. I was extremely malnourished. I lost a bunch of muscle mass, and I was 110 pounds. And I remember it took everything out of me to get out of bed to go use the bathroom. I spent my whole summer in the bed. But I'm a firstborn, so I was like, I'm going to 10th grade. My parents were like, oh, but you're not. And I said, no, I am. I'm going to go to 10th grade. And they said, Kristen, you're so stubborn. And I said, I want my life back. I wanted my life back. And so I did. I got up the first day of school, and I remember I'm 110 pounds. My hair was about 2 inches long. I put on this backpack that I thought weighed 700 pounds. I can still feel the weight of it. And I said, I'm going. And I remember getting in the car thinking, I'm never going to make it. But I'm a firstborn. So when you say you're going to do something as a firstborn, you have to do it. So my dad dropped me off at the school. I had to go up steps. I fell going up the steps. But I didn't look back, because I knew if I looked back, my dad would make me get in the car. And I walked in the school, and I could just see it written all over my teachers' faces, and I could see it written over my friends' faces. Like the Kristen that left the school the year before, she wasn't here anymore. Like, this was a new girl, and this was a sick girl. And I just saw the sadness in their eyes, and it kind of just was like a reality punch that this was probably my new life. And I couldn't really handle it, because it just hurt inside, knowing that the fun girl that left the previous year, she wasn't there anymore. So I sat my backpack down in the hall, and I went and called my parents. I said, I got to come home. Like, I can't do it. I'm not going to be able to do it. And they came and got me, and the school called and said, we'd love to put her on the homebound program. So I went on the homebound program, and a sweet angel teacher came to my house once a week to keep me in my grade. And she would teach me for an hour, the four courses, because it's about how long I could sit up, was about an hour before I had to go lay back down. But what's really cool, how sweet God is this precious angel teacher lives in Trustful. And I get to run into her sometimes. And she reminds me exactly where I came from. And she always tells me, I'm so happy to see you healthy. Like, I can't believe you're alive. Like, I saw you, and it was bad, and I think it's just such a precious reminder when I do get to run into her, of God's goodness and God's faithfulness, because, coming from a Christian home, we never stopped praying. And I never stopped praying, and my community never stopped praying, and my friends never stopped praying for me. And they were radical prayers. They were, heal me, Lord, like heal me, God. I want to live a long life. I want to get married one day. I want to have kids. Lord God, heal me. Please heal me. Of course, also, why me? Why me? Why did you have to choose me for this? I was so fun. I was such a fun girl. And I was really loving my life, but still, I did trust God. I trusted God the whole time. I knew that He had a good plan for my life. I knew that. So that would be my life, though. That would be my life from now on. Every 6 months, I would be very sick, and then I'd try to get well, and then I'd be sick, and then I'd try to get well, and this would be the rest of my life. And so one of the side effects of the medicine that I had to take called prednisone, it was the worst side effect that could ever happen to a woman, I think, in the history of side effects. And some of you might know this, but when you take high doses of prednisone, you get what is called a moon-shaped face. So I had a huge face and this little tiny body. And I just remember I would be talking to God and I would say, out of all the side effects, Lord, why this one? Like, I really feel like I could probably handle this disease, but why this one? I felt so unworthy. Like, I couldn't even look at myself in the mirror. I thought, who is ever like, am I ever going to get married? Like, who's going to love me? Like, look at me. I have a disease. I have this big face. It was just the worst side effect. So you can just imagine my surprise when a boy from my youth group asked me to go on a date. I was like, what? There's no way. Is this a joke? Is it going to be a joke? No, I'm a sick girl. Like, I'm not well. I don't know, like, why anybody would want to date me. Look what I look like. And so we went on our first date. My parents allowed me to because I know that they wanted me to just have a normal life. They allowed me to go on this first date. And this guy came to my door and he was so precious. And we got in the car to go eat. And I said, why though? Like, why? Why do you want to date me? Like, do you really want to take me out on a date? And he said, well, yeah, why would I not? And I'm like, look at me. Like, there's a picture of us. My mom actually snapped a picture. I don't have many photos of my teenage years because of my side effects, but my mom actually snapped a picture this night. And I don't love to look at that picture, but it is a great reminder of the sweetness of my date. And he said, what do you mean? Why would I not want to date you? And I'm like, look at me. I can't even want to look at myself. And he said, I'm really not interested in the way you look. He was like, I want to know you for who you are. Like, I want to know your heart. Like, I've seen you. I know you love Jesus. Like, I think your heart is what makes you beautiful. I thought, oh my gosh. And I said, I'm going to marry you. And I did. And I did. And I did a few. So I thought, I cannot believe that there is actually somebody out there who would want to love me just for me. Just for me. It wouldn't be about anything on the outside. It would be all about who I was. And he's so precious to this day. And I did marry him. 5 years later, we got married and started a life together. And he accepted me for who I was. And he accepted me that there might not be a possibility for us to have a family. I might have infertility issues. I didn't know if my body could carry kids. I didn't know if colitis would allow me to carry kids. I didn't know if the high doses of prednisone, my doctor said that might never be an option for you. And so I told him, I said, are you sure you want to marry me? Like, I don't know. And he said, of course I want to marry you. I'm going to take care of you. I love you. And so he did. And at 22 years old, he helped me find a new doctor at UAB. He said, it's time. Like, my symptoms were getting worse and worse. This was every 6 months. I was well, I was sick, I was well, I was sick. And when I say well, it just wasn't a great well. Okay. It was just like a survival well. And I was still on prednisone and I was still taking other meds for colitis. So I met this new doctor at UAB. He was so precious. And he said, hey, let's run some more tests. Let's really dive in. Let's really dig deep and see what's going on. And so at 22 years old, he re-diagnosed me with Crohn's disease. And he said, you have Crohn's. And again, a little relief, thinking, well, this is great news because maybe now there's new meds. Maybe now I can do new things. I can try new things. And we did. We certainly did. It started a roller coaster of lots of new medications. I would receive needles at my door for shots that I'd have to immediately give myself in my stomach. I did 6 to 8 hour infusions weekly. One time I did a 72-hour hospital stay where it was nothing but a chemotherapy drug in my arm, but nothing ever stopped the bleeding, never stopped. And I always had to have another blood transfusion. And I always thought, I cannot live my whole life like this. I don't know how any good is ever going to come from this. I don't know how you survive this. And so I was in the 6 months of wellness, and you can't even believe it, but 8 months into my marriage, I found out I was pregnant, and we could not even believe that we were going to have a baby. You know, there's no way. There's no way. And she's perfect. What? You're going to give us a perfect baby? No way. When I found out I was pregnant, my doctor was like, you got to come off these meds. Like, it's going to hurt the baby. And I thought, oh, well, what am I going to, I'm scared to come off these meds. So I came off the meds, and I went through the pregnancy. And as soon as I had my first baby, I had a huge, what we call flare up. It was bad. It required more blood transfusions and more hospital stays, but I had a perfect baby, so it didn't matter. She was lovely and all things good. I got under control, and then I was able to have a second baby, and she's perfect too. How does this happen? How does this happen? I don't know. I don't know how I had two perfect kids. I don't know. But I knew my body was shutting down. Like, something was weird about this pregnancy. I knew my body was in a lot of pain. My stomach was in a lot of pain. I wasn't gaining as much weight with this one. I wasn't keeping food down. I was in the bathroom a lot. And she actually came at 34 weeks because my body was just done. And when I was thinking back on my testimony, I realized that as soon as I had her, I went into my very last flare up that I would ever have. I could never recover from this next flare up that I had. It was I think my doctors tried for about a year to really push new meds, and I was having monthly blood transfusions. And I went into the doctor one day because I was like, I just don't feel good. Like, I literally felt like this was it for me. I went into the doctor thinking, like, well, I mean, surely he's going to pull out some kind of trick. Something's wrong with me. And it was a different feeling from the years that I had lived with colitis and now Crohn's. And he walked in, and I could see the look on his face. It wasn't good. And I said, I need help. Like, I don't feel good. And he sat down in front of me, and he said, Chris, it's over. He said, it's over. And I said, what do you mean? Like, what do you mean it's over? And he said, there's nothing else that we can do for you. Nothing. There's not another pill. There's not another infusion. There's not another drug. There's not another shot. There's nothing left. I'm crying because I'm like, you're my doctor. Like, what do you mean? Like, so I'm just done now? Like, it's over for me? And he said, the only thing that is going to save your life now is surgery. And I was like, well, I'm not doing that. Like, I'm not having surgery. Like, I'm not going to do it. Little did I know, my husband's over there signing me up. I'm like, yeah, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. He's signing me up from a surgery consultation. And I said, Jared, I'm not doing it. I'm not going to do it. And he said, well, let's at least go hear what the surgeon has to say. And I said, but I know that God's going to heal my body. I just know he is. Like, I know he's going to heal it. It's going to be fine. And my husband looked at me. He said, I'm not raising two girls by myself. Not two of you. Not two. And I said, I didn't want to do it because I knew the side effects of having a surgery like that. And I didn't want that for my life. I'm 27 years old. Like, surely God's just going to heal me just one day. He's just going to take it away. So 2 days later, we went in the surgery consultation. But when we were walking in, I remember telling the Lord, I said, God, I'm going to need like the biggest piece of my life right now. Like, I'm going to need like a peace punch in my face, just something so radical that I'm just going to know, because it's a no right now. And I'm just going to go home and live with this disease. And so if this is your will for my life, if this is what you want, like, I need the clearest direction of my life today. So we walked in the surgery consultation, and me and Jared sat down, and we're sitting there waiting, and the door opens, and in walks a woman. And she sat down in front of me face to face. And I said, are you the surgeon? And she said, I am. I'm the surgeon. And I was like, at that moment, I was like, wow, God, you are so sweet. Like, you are so sweet, because in that moment, it felt like I was having coffee with a friend. I can't explain it. She felt like I knew her, felt like I knew her. And she sat there with me 45 minutes and was so patient, and she was so kind, and she answered every single question and every single detail. And it was just like my friend. And I thought, girl, this is a woman empowering another woman to make the hardest decision of her whole life that she's going to make today. And God put you right there in front of me. And I love her, and I still see her this day, and I want to tackle her. But she said, I told her, said, Dr. Cannon, really, and I told her this, I said, I'm scared. I'm really scared, because I always believed that my healing would come through death. I really did. I always thought that my healing would have to come from dying, and then I would be with Jesus and my body would be perfect. I didn't see a way out on earth. And I said, am I going to die? And she said, it's a possibility. She said, I'm not going to let that happen. She said, you're going to get well, and we're going to get you raising your children, and we're going to get you eating, and you're going to live an active, normal life. And I couldn't believe it, because I've been sick for so long. It's been 12 years. I'm like, there's no way. There's just no way that this is going to be my life. I just really, in my heart, thought that this was God preparing me to die. And so she said, there's not an inch of your colon that's well, not a sliver of an inch. She was like, your entire thing is diseased, the entire thing. I was like, yeah, I feel every second of it. Like, I know that something's definitely wrong. And so she said, I got a spot on my book. Take the spot. Take the spot. Have the surgery. And I said, I don't know. And Jared was like, well, take the spot. And I'm like, let me make my own decision. A couple days later, I took the spot, and I was in surgery. Before I went in, I told to my friends, I was like, love my girls. Love my girls. If something happens to me, we just love them and be with them growing up, be their mama for me, love them. And of course, all my friends, yeah, we got you, girl. We're gonna love your kids. You're gonna be fine. We're gonna love your children. And so I kind of gave everybody a hug and, told them bye because I thought this was it for me. And I went into surgery, and it was about a 4-hour surgery. And I woke up. And I said, the room is spinning. I mean, it felt like my eyeballs were going like this. But in that moment, I knew the room was spinning, but I was like, I'm alive. I'm alive. What's going on? I cannot believe it. Lord, I'm alive. And I was alive. And in that moment, realized like the author of my story had given me a second chance, like a second chance at life. What? I could not believe that I was about to get a new life. And I wrestled with this for a long time, because, there was a side effect of my surgery that I never really wanted anybody to know about. And I kept it a secret. And I told my girls to keep it a secret for years. So this is mommy's secret. My husband kept it a secret for me. Friends and family kept it a secret for me. But, I thought, what am I doing when who am I helping by keeping a secret of something that God has done in my life? So I did wake up from surgery. I had my entire colon removed. To this day, I live with a small intestine, and I wear an ileostomy bag. And that was a secret for years that I never wanted anybody to know. But I wanted my girls to be free. I want my husband to be free. I want my family to be free. You're allowed to tell people, like, it's okay. Because my ileostomy bag that I wear is just a symbol that I get to keep living life. I get to keep living. I get to keep watching my children grow up. I get to keep being with my friends. I get to keep living life with my husband. And it's the greatest joy in the whole world. And I realized I battled with it for so long. I just was so embarrassed of who I was. And I didn't get in a swimsuit for 5 years, and I didn't wear dresses. And I woke up one day and I thought, Lord, I get it. Like, this was my healing. This is my healing. You answered our prayers. You answered the cries. You answered my prayer. Why am I why am I so worried about what other people think of my body? Why am I so worried for somebody to know that I wear an ileostomy bag? And you healed me. This was my healing. And so I just am so grateful to be alive and to keep living. And I just celebrated 42. 42. I'm so old on Friday. But 12 years of praying, the prayers were answered. And I couldn't find my identity no longer in Crohn's and in ileostomy bag. My identity is rooted in Jesus Christ. And I want to run the race, right? I want to run the race and get to the end and hear well done. And I don't want to be embarrassed that I didn't tell somebody, because somebody needs to hear it. And so I actually got to go on and have my third baby with an ileostomy bag. And it's so cool. And I'm like, how can people not know this? Because women need to hear this in case it happens to them, that you can go on and you can live an active life and you can do normal things. And so, it's pretty cool, because when I was wrestling to tell my story, an Auburn kicker has just come out and said that he had the same surgery and he's going to wear a bag and he's going to be a kicker and he's going to have a bag on his side. And I'm like, okay, well, if he can say it, surely I can. And it was so funny because somebody in our Sunday school class, like last week, was asking prayer for a coworker who had a daughter with intestinal issues. She's 2 years old and she's going to get a bag. And I was like, I hear you, Lord. I hear you. I'm going to say it. But, I wrote some things down that I knew I would forget. Just learning to love who I am and who God made me to be, and learning to love that I might not have the worldly standard beauty, but, the beauty is my relationship with Christ, and it really is who I am on the inside. One day I'll have my perfect body. It'll be great. It'll be in heaven. I'll be wearing a bikini, so catch me up there. It'll be a good day. It'll be a really good day. But I never want to forget that. When I was writing the story, I thought, what is the point, Lord? There's so many lessons learned, was the point learning to suffer well, knowing that we're suffering now because we don't have to later. Maybe the point was like waiting on the Lord for 12 years, like keep asking. He's going to answer. He's going to answer. Believing radical prayers, knowing that he might not answer in the way you want him to, but he's going to answer your prayers. And knowing that you're rooted in God's love. And I'm not rooted in what the world thinks of someone wearing an ileostomy bag. So my daughter sent me a song. She showed me a song a couple weeks ago, and I thought was the perfect ending, my story. I'm sure you've heard it, but the line says, I know the author of my story, and he's mine. So that's my story, and I thank y'all so much for letting me share it tonight.
There are several parts of Kristen's story that I really loved, but I had to say, before we even hit record, I said the one thing that just made my heart pitter patter was when she was so concerned about how she looked, right out of high school, and how she went on her trip, and her future husband, she said, why do you want to be with me? Because of how she looked physically. And he said, I don't care how you look on the outside. I care about your heart. I was like, who are his parents? I want to congratulate them for raising a beautiful son.
Absolutely. Yes. And the exact quote, I want to know you for who you are. You are from the inside out.
And I feel like you see that in the way he cared for her once they got married, as well. So anyway, I wanted to start there.
Well, it's pretty amazing.
Yes. And I do, like you said, Robin, at the very beginning, I appreciate Kristen's vulnerability and sharing, some of the ugly of her story, especially towards the end there when she started talking about how, she wanted to hide,
absolutely,
the bag. And she was like, why am I doing this? The Lord brought healing to my life through this, so I'm not going to hide it anymore.
Absolutely. I thought the same thing because, she said the thing that I wanted to keep secret. And I found myself relating to that, y'all. I mean, you're worried about what other people think, and you're worried, like, can I really show my true self to whoever, name the person? And it was just how the Lord, again, anytime that the Lord's light comes into darkness and he sheds light on whatever secret you're carrying, there is hope, there is redemption. And so y'all may not know, but both of my sisters suffer from Crohn's disease.
I did not know that.
They were both diagnosed at 32 years old. And I'm so thankful just having witnessed what they've gone through, their surgeries and their symptoms, and just having to live with the disease. I'm so thankful that I was spared from that, but it has given me empathy to those who suffer with this disease because it is very debilitating.
And I have several family members that have it as well. And I'm like, this may be a story that lots of you need to hear, and a great one to pass along.
Pass it along.
Because I find in my own family members the shame or the embarrassment, or that I have to eat a certain way, or, and then the severity of having to go to the bathroom all the time. And it's so embarrassing. And it's like down to the real details of what happens. But I love when a storyteller says, because, I get to coach all of our storytellers and talk to them beforehand. I love when they say, I've never shared this, and now is the time. Yeah. Every single time I'm like, look at what the Lord does. Exactly, Lindy, how you were just saying, he takes darkness to light. We may be carrying secrets that aren't even dangerous to other people. Sure. They're not even dangerous to yourself,
but they feel big to us.
But they feel, and it's the shame and guilt attached, even when it shouldn't be. Mm-hmm. And you're like, Lord, here we go. I'm going to share this, and I cannot wait to see what he does with Kristen's story.
Yeah. And I think, one other thing, and she mentioned this in one of her points that she learned towards the end, is just believing in radical prayer. And I don't know how many of you need to kind of grasp onto that, but just the idea of where she told the Lord before the surgery, I need a peace punch.
Yeah.
I don't know if y'all remember that.
I did not write that.
She said, Lord, I need a peace punch in the face.
Yes.
That this is what I'm supposed to do. And how the Lord sweetly answered her when she said the doctor came in. It was a woman. It was like I was just having coffee with her, and she was bringing her hope in that moment. And that was her peace punch. And I thought, we need to believe more in radical prayer, that he does still perform miracles.
And that when we give it all to him, that peace that you just talked about, yeah, that's right. Well, I'm going to close this out. Lord, thank you so much for Kristen and just sharing the hard and maybe not pretty that she has walked through, but the hope and the encouragement that it's bringing to so many of us right now, Lord. I just thank you so much that you are here, that you are our healer, that you are our provider, and there is nothing that we go through that you cannot handle. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Amen.